progress.
Wait a minute. Oh, I forgot to start
Recording stopped.
Sorry. Record
Okay.
to this
Recording
computer.
in progress.
Okay.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Digital Freethought Radio Hour on WOZO Radio 103.9 LPFM here in Knoxville, Tennessee. We're recording this on Sunday morning, April 23rd, 2023. I'm Larry Rhodes, or DJ Doubter 5. And as usual, we have our co-host, Wombat, on the line with us. Hello, Wombat.
Hello, it's me, the Wombat.
Hello. Welcome to Boudreaux, also from Western Kentucky. I don't know if it's Western or not.
Central.
Central.
That's cool.
Okay. And Dread Pirate Higgs from Western Canada. Throw that in there. Digital Freethought Radio Hour is a talk radio show about atheism, free thought, rational thought, humanism, and Pastafarianism. Oh, and the sciences. And conversely, we'll also talk about religion, religious faiths, gods, holy books, and superstition. And we might even touch on Satanism. Who knows?
Who knows?
And if you think you're the only non-believer in your town, well, you're just not. In Knoxville, in the middle of the Bible Belt, we have a group of over 1,000 of us. We're the Atheist Society of Knoxville, or ASK, and we'll tell you more about it after the mid-show break, so be sure to stick around. Wombat, what's our topic today?
I have the worst eyelashes in the world. Allergies are trying to kill everybody, and we have a great topic today. It starts off with a really nice story about the products that can come about through good conversation and open-minded Christians that you speak to. But before we get into that and more listener questions and comments from our previous episodes, I want to throw it up to our own Dread Pirate Higgs for our weekly invocation.
All right, I can do that. All right, this is a short sermon on the third of the 8 I'd rather you didn't. As followers of the Pastafarian faith, we are guided by the 8 I'd rather you didn't. These guidelines help us to live our lives with kindness, respect, and compassion towards others. The third of these guidelines is, I'd rather you didn't judge people for the way they look, or how they dress, or the way they talk, or, well, just play nice, okay? Oh, and get this into your thick heads, woman equals person, man equals person, samey. One is not better than the other, unless we're talking about fashion, and I'm sorry, but I have to give that to women and some guys who know the difference between teal and fuchsia.
Ramen.
Guys, it's so good to see everybody. Boudreaux, how you been?
I've been good. Like I said, I'm trying to rearrange my fitness schedule to be able to make the show more. So I think
Very cool.
I've done that.
Okay, awesome. Hey, how's the allergies coming in your area? Is it kind of rough? What's going on?
A lot of folks have trouble this time of year. I used to. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you got used to the bluegrass epidemic that
I don't think I did.
all at once. Yeah. So in Kentucky, there's like this purple kind of grass. You'll know it when you see it. Kentucky can't do anything about it. They instead embraced it as part of like their cultural identity of like, this is our thing now. It's like, that's killing everything. It's like, it's an invasive species. They're like, yeah, we know, it's great. We're going to put it on our flags. It's bluegrass. It's this terrible grass that grows everywhere and all pollinates all at once and fills the highways with like a yellow clouds of dust. It just billows through everything. And if you live there long enough, it doesn't bother you. If you live there long enough, it doesn't get you. Because by my second year, it was okay. But the first year, I was crying on the sides of roads, unable to drive. And if you're in Tennessee, you get little whiffs of it. And that's what I think we're getting right now. Because, man, there's not a lot of things that pollinate that badly down here. We don't even have a lot of pine. But, man, is there a lot of bluegrass. And if you look at it under a microscope, the pollen little bits have barbs on them that cling to other pollen bits. So it's a really, really irritating pollen. It gets everywhere and it sticks to everything. And it sticks to your fingers. So when you rub your eyes, now you got it on your eyes, it sticks to your shirt, you touch your shirt. Next thing you know, touch your face, it's on your face. It's terrible. Anyway, good news. We have Dread Pirate Higgs on the show. Dread Pirate, how you been?
I've been all right. I just got back from the TED Talks. I'm sure some of you have heard about those. So they were, the big one is in Vancouver every year around this time. And so I was down there doing a security detail for, guys like the TikTok owner, and for Greg Brockman, who's the co-founder of ChatGPT. And
Cool.
And I was in a fortuitous space because where I was set up was in the hotel where our prime minister was staying. He had been there for a few days, and I was actually there with the security detail because I was security as well. He has his own dedicated security detail. So he was coming out of the elevator for a jog, and I was wearing my pork pie hat, and of course none of his detail wears hats. So when he came out, he looked at me, and then he did a double take, and he goes, "Hey." And I went, "Hey." and he walked by. And there you go. That's my brush with greatness. There you go.
That's a typical Canadian conversation. Hey.
and see,
Go.
and say that's bilingual. Hey in French is the same as hey in English.
Really?
So
Okay.
we communicated in two languages at the same time.
That's fantastic.
It was glorious.
That's great. That's a great story, Dred. Larry, how you been? Catching up?
Fine. Got my motorcycle out yesterday again.
Nice.
Absolutely. It was pretty. It's supposed to rain, but it's pretty. And today is supposed to be pretty, and it's not.
Yeah. It's
63
sunny,
and cloudy.
Yeah.
Well, here it is.
We have that rare 2 weeks of a lot of sun, but not a lot of heat. And so get outside and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, around this time 2 years ago also was a really nice day. Went out to have lunch with a friend of mine who is a Christian who I play disc golf with. And we ended up hitting it off really good on the field. We went and get some lunch afterwards. And I was in the state of mind where it's always fun for me to ask people why they strongly believe things, especially if they wear their beliefs on their sleeve.
Uh-huh.
And so I always structure the conversation such that I'm not trying to challenge their ultimate conclusion. I'm not telling them that they're wrong. I'm just trying to look at the stepping stones that they use, the methodology they decided to operate under to get to that conclusion. Think of it as like that thread that's connecting them to their final, idea or thing that they're willing to defend. I'm looking at the thread. And that cool thing is most people don't think about the thread that they use that connects them with their ideology. They always just have the ideology and they identify with it, but they don't see the thread that connects the two.
Nor do they ever take it out and examine it. They just have it.
That's it. And so what we did was we examined that together, and you could do that in a really polite, conversational way. Doesn't take like a flow chart. It takes a lot of consent and understanding and empathy. But you're just trying to truly understand that methodology because you can both work on that together. And you can work on that together and you can follow every step of the way that they use to arrive at their ideology. And here's the cool thing. If it turns out that there's a problem with that methodology, that's not something that they can argue away based on looking at the ideology. Right. They have to look at the method that they're using. There's a problem with the thread. Like if the thread doesn't lead to their conclusion, that's a problem that we can both find together. And when you like, hey, there's a problem here. I can't fix that for you. But if you fix this, let me know because I'll keep going down that thread with you.
Right.
But otherwise, this doesn't go anywhere. Are we in agreement that that's a problem? And he's like, yeah, that's a problem. And it was a number of them. It was a multifaceted issue that dealt with arguments from comfort, arguments from definition.
Right.
I believe this because it makes me feel good. I believe this because, well, what's the harm with calling this God? Like my opinion is that the universe is God and it's energy, and why can't we just call that God? I'm like, well, why should we? Like maybe that should be the better phrasing of that question. He's like, oh, dang it. Well, I'm gonna have to think about that. And that more or less ended the conversation for a period of time, like 2 years. But I did let him know in that conversation that I am an atheist. And I'm a happy one. And if you have questions about atheism, ask me. Don't ask your pastor.
Right.
I might be able to give you a better impression of what it is. Yeah, because he's like, oh, I know everything about atheism. It's like, listen, I wouldn't say I met. He's like, I know everything about atheists. I have a friend who's an atheist, or my dad was an atheist. That's what he said.
Or my preacher told me all about him.
Right. It's like, listen, I've met Christians. I won't tell you I know everything about Christianity just because I met a couple. If you have questions, feel free to ask me. The idea behind atheism is it's not a dogma. There's no life course. There's no philosophy. There's no worldview. It's just an answer to one question, which is whether or not you believe in a God. And he's just like, that makes sense. And more or less ended the conversation there. 2 years later, and we're still friends, by the way, we still play regularly. He came and invited me out to play, and We met, yes, last week at a smaller course that he had some time to play after work. And he was really quiet. He's just like, okay, what's going on? I have no idea what he's about to say. It's either, hey, I joined a new cult. I would love for you to take my card. Or I have this new program that I'd love for you to join, a timeshare or something like that. I don't know. He had that kind of vibe about him. But finally, we're on the fourth hole, and he comes to me and he says, listen, why I called you out today, I just wanted to let you know that both my wife and I had a conversation that we both don't believe in God anymore. And we both think that we're agnostic. And I think a lot of that came from the conversation that I had with you about 2 years back. And I just wanted to let you know about that as like one of the first people that I'm letting know that I am out of my religion. I'm like,
okay.
That's
Cool.
huge. That's huge.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
huge.
yeah.
I'm not taking credit for that, by the way. What I'm really saying, because I've had conversations with many people who are much more closed-minded, doxastically closed. Is that how you would say that, Dred? Doxastically closed?
Right?
Doxastically.
Doxastically.
I can sign it. I can't spell it. I can't speak it.
Closed-minded.
Closed-minded. Thank you. But I've talked with a lot of closed-minded people who weren't as open. And the cool thing is he took the things that I pointed out and worked on them, realized that they didn't go anywhere, came to his own conclusions on that. And instead of saying, hey, I'm just going to hold on to this thread anyway, said, I'm getting rid of this thread until I have a better reason to connect myself to this ideology or find a better methodology to get there. And I'm like, you raised your standard of evidence. You did that. That is the crux of what gets people out of Christianity. And I'm so proud that he did that. And he had a good example of an atheist to observe quietly from the background. He's just like, yeah, but Ty's a good guy. I don't know about this whole atheism thing. When you meet Eric, I'm sorry. When you meet Boudreaux, my bad. When people meet you and they know you're an atheist, I think, in my opinion, that's the best billboard for deconstructing what their impression of atheism is to begin with. Because it's like, this guy has a family, he's a cool dude, plays guitar, invites people out, involved in charity, helping kids, play soccer.
I haven't seen him eat a baby or anything.
Yeah, where's the blood? Where's the eating thing? Like, is this guy going to hell? What's going on here? I have a problem with that. What do you think about that, Boudreaux?
Well, that's a nice tie-in to our previous conversation that I'm really eager to hear about the comments from last week. But a tie-in to that, just the whole idea of I said, I hear all the time, man, you're pretty nice for an atheist. I think people learn about atheism through a pasture or through, they don't meet people. And that's why I've always felt too, I try to wait to tell people I'm an atheist so they can get to know me first and then tell. Now that window has been shrinking. I like now to tell them earlier, but I do feel like if you just meet someone, I don't want to open with, hey, I don't believe in your God.
Right.
Get to know someone, show them who you are. And then if they find out you're an atheist, I think that helps reinforce what you're saying, which is like not eating babies and not kind of that epitome of evil.
Dred, what do you think?
Well, I was going to say that even like as a pastafarian, showing people that there are alternative belief systems to the Christian one, which is really the one we struggle most with, I think, the better appreciation people have for perhaps the outsider's view of what their beliefs are, being able to take an outsider's, what they call it, the outsider's test of faith, right? Is when you're looking at your own beliefs from an outsider's point of view.
Yeah, like you look at other faiths.
Exactly. And so when I encounter particularly Christians, who, when I tell them I'm a pastafarian and what that means, they say, well, you can't possibly believe that. And then I just, gently turn it around and say, well, you believe in talking snakes and virgin birth, and a guy lived in a whale's belly for 3 days. You can't possibly believe in that, can you? Right?
Yeah, is it my job to tell you that you believe that too? Yeah, it's exactly. But
so.
and honestly, I hate the rationale of, well, I'm just incredulous of whether or not you believe that, and that's enough to dismiss it. Like that's such a low barrier. It shouldn't matter whether or not you think I believe it. It's are all these things nonsense or not?
Right.
And if we agree that it's not, then it doesn't matter whether I believe it or not. I am this thing based on the fact that I told you.
That's exactly
So
the
deal with
point.
it.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
Right. Larry, what's up?
No, it kind of stuck in my mind when you said that you will talk to somebody who's wearing the religion on their sleeve.
Yeah.
Could you tell me more what that means? I mean, if you see somebody in the store with a cross around their neck, do you walk up and start talking to them about it or what?
No, not for strangers. Though I have, you know me, I have set up tables where I just say, let's talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, but people approach you once you put up the table. You don't approach them.
Right. And otherwise, we're talking about a guy who has a Christian name, who wears a Jesus cross, who has a Jesus tattoo, who has a Jesus wife that also has a Christian name. And when you eat, there's a little prayer, and I'm not involved in it, but there's a lot that goes around and bless you whenever you sneeze, which is I consider that almost a cultural thing. But when it's said with provocation, not provocation, but dedication, it's bless you. There's eye contact. It's I'm actually doing it. It's oh, there's something going on here. Car tag has a bunch of fish on it, has a son that's also named in accordance to what his Christian name is, the character's son's name. His son has the Christian name.
Right.
It's totally in. Also, we'll intro conversations, be yeah, we did that at my Bible study when I sang for Pastor blah 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 at the church of blah 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 blah, which is also doing blah 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 blahs. If you ever want to come over, always brought up. It's very hard to have a conversation that didn't involve or devolve into religion at some point. And I'm talking. I might just say Tuesdays are awesome. You know what Tuesday stands for in the Bible?
Well, you don't have to wait more than 2 seconds. I mean, it's, hi, my name is Larry. Oh, great. What church do you go to?
Yes. We're in the same state. We know what we're talking about here. Yeah. But we know what we mean when they wear Christianity or their religion on their sleeve. And the idea is, I don't go out to strangers and immediately start challenging the idea. It's better for me when I have a situation where I see there's an opportunity to have an in-depth conversation about it, where it doesn't feel like I need to get up and go. And one where the person I'm talking to has control on whether or not they want to have that talk or not. So I will say hey, I have some questions about how you arrived at that conclusion. Would you like talking about it with me? I'll open that up, and then we'll go from there. Otherwise, I'm totally fine if there's a Christian that wants to believe in Christianity. I don't have a problem with that. You have a right to do that in the state. But I do like to have consensual conversations about the nature of how they arrived at that conclusion, to just give them an opportunity that their religious leaders don't allow them to have, which is examining the process of how they arrived at that conclusion. A lot of people don't get that. Boudreaux, I would love to ask you this. Do you think you've had long-term positive impacts on people? Because you say you don't let people know you're an atheist until they get to know you, but obviously there's going to be talk in your neck of the woods where people will be like, oh yeah, he's an atheist, and you won't say it or confirm it because you never were involved in that conversation, but you might be looked at by people who are in that religious areas, and they're just examining you from afar and not having that actual conversation with you. Do you think that might be as beneficial as the time where you actually do confront them and let them know, hey, by the way, this is where I'm at?
Maybe. I feel like if people find out ahead of time, they bring in kind of that baggage, that prejudice, really. And so that is probably not the best way. I know I had a lot of anxiety about whether or not to publicly change my, I don't know, publicly is the right word, but change my status on Facebook to atheist. That was something that I really gave a lot of thought, because this is maybe 10 years ago. Some of the leadership at my work, were pretty religious people. I've since, discussed with my supervisor, that I'm an atheist, and he was originally really disappointed, but
what?
Yeah, well, disappointed in a joking way, because he wanted me to be on his team, right?
I thought he was a man of science, or engineering, but I know it gets to all levels.
Yeah, and I think I've said it before. In civil engineering, we're kind of like the country boy version of engineering where it's a lot of like, folks from Eastern Kentucky that come to the big city and they know kind of farm stuff, agricultural science. Those are a little more religious engineering areas. So yeah, I don't know. It's something I've gotten a lot easier with though. It's, obviously I do Summit. So I'm usually, when I meet people, I'm very quick to kind of gauge them to see if they're Summit worthy.
Oh,
and that
absolutely.
doesn't mean atheist. It just means open-minded. Right.
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
And so yeah, I have the decals on my car, the Flying Spaghetti Monster, the Darwin fish. Actually, I've been really considering some kind of a Flying Spaghetti Monster tattoo. I just can't picture what to do yet. So I'm trying to be more like open about it. So this is my journey.
I got you. And let us know how it keeps going. Dread, obviously you wear the pirate hat, the tricorn, the religious garb of the Apostafarian. That's going to cause a lot of questions. I imagine British Columbia, though, particularly your neck of the woods, is small enough where people know. They're just like, oh, it's that guy, right?
Yeah. For the most part. Yeah, for the most part. We're going to, we're just in the finishing stages of a large 5 by 10 foot highway sign for the Flying Spaghetti Monster. We're just doing the finishing touches on the design. We've already paid for the sign space, which when I was a realtor, that's where my realty sign went.
It's a billboard.
It's a billboard. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it'll be the first one, of course, ever, I think. And
what does it say? What does it say? Tell me what the billboard says.
Well, it says, it's got the picture of, there's the picture of David and the noodly monster, Adam and the noodly, God, where they're just about touching. Well, it's the noodly monster and Adam touching.
Michelangelo, right?
And it says, "Be touched by the noodly one, raw man."
Wow!
And then we have a QR code for our website, which has just been redesigned, and then it says Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster of BC.
Wow! Just like, I love it. It's just so, that's going to be a provocative billboard.
It will be. Yeah. And the reason it offsets a pair of billboards that are on the other side of town that are on private property when you come into town down off this big hill. It's called Spencer's Hill. There's these two big red garish billboards that have a couple of phrases from the Bible, and some of them are actually quite lengthy and have caused people to run off the road. Because
they're trying to read it.
You end up starting to read the thing and you're not paying attention, right? It's like texting.
How hilarious is that?
Texting to God.
How hilarious is that? Right. Yeah.
Distracted driving.
It's okay. Jesus has the wheel.
Jesus has the wheel. Yeah.
That's a lot.
And as you're flying off the cliff there, you can go, "Oh God.
Yeah.
I died reading your billboard." Oh, you're good. Free pass.
But I was gonna say a lot of the conversations I have are around magical thinking, and that's often how I lead into, because magical thinking, of course, includes religious thinking, right? So
astrology.
When people say bless you, if it's depending on the situation, I may just perk up and say, thank you. I felt the devil coming in to possess me, so I appreciate that. And they don't get it at first, and then they, it gives them pause to think. And and when people talk about ghosts or that kind of stuff, it's a good opportunity to kind of plant that pebble in the shoe, and magical thinking leads to other things, and so if you put the pebble in there, it disturbs their magical thinking in all respects, right? Or hopefully.
So speaking of tongue-in-cheek comments about 3 years ago, when Game of Thrones was a lot more popular, when someone said, "Oh, you're so blessed," or "bless you," or "you're blessed," in the sense of like, "Oh, you're a nice guy," I'll be like, "Yes, praise to the seven."
Praise to the seven.
The seven gods.
Love that.
Yeah.
Right. Larry, we got a couple of minutes before we head out, but I would love to hear, if you got time, how have you been out as an atheist, and have you notice any long-term impacts in terms of people's well-being, in that they know you're an atheist or figured it out from other people?
Well, you know that I was in the closet atheist for 30 years before I came out.
Sure was.
And I really hated all the, having to pretend to be religious to be able to fit in with my community and family and all that.
Personal well-being. Yep.
But for the last 23 years, I've been out. And the very first person that I told was a friend of mine that I'd seen, not dating, but she, when I told her I was an atheist, she says, "Oh, no, you're not." In the sweetest Southern accent you ever heard. Yeah. But only because she thought that I was too nice to be an atheist.
Right.
And we never really talked after that because I didn't see her anymore. I mean, we never had much conversation, so she kind of avoided me. But
you weren't
many people that I've talked to, just take it in stride. After the first few questions and I answer it. However, I did have one supervisor or manager at work who used to give me a hard time. And I actually had to file a complaint about him a long time ago. But I don't work there anymore. It's been a long time. So, but it comes and goes. People usually just tell me I'm going to hell. And that's it. Nice, loving things like that to say.
Right. I'll say this. I've told this story before, but when I moved to Tennessee after coming from, I think I was coming from Atlanta. First thing I looked up when I came to the state was, are there atheist groups? And I found on Meetup that there were a lot of groups that were non-believers or rationalists of East Tennessee, but I didn't know what that meant. I was just like, where are the atheists? Because I need to talk to these people. These are what I've recently come out as, and I need a community. And I found your group. And I was like, Atheist Society in Knoxville, like big first word, meet us next to the table where we have this big book on genes and stuff like that.
And a list of organizations will be right there at the top.
Exactly. And so I texted, I was like, hey, do you still meet up? He's like, yeah, come out. I'm like, absolutely. Changed my life. And
I was a member of the Rationalists for 2 or 3 years before I started the Atheist Society in Knoxville, because they would not use the A word.
Yeah.
Some of our members aren't atheists.
Right.
A lot of them are. Most of them are. I was in the group for 3 years that most of them were atheists. They would not use the word.
And it was not a God thing.
I mean, I'm still a member of the Rationalists. I was their president for a couple of years later on.
Sure. And I've done talks at that group too. Right. I was just saying, the more shame we take out of the word atheist, the more we're just upfront about it.
We've got to use it.
The less baggage people can put on that and walk away with it because, they're afraid they're not going to speak up. Boudreaux, what do you think?
I actually had a friend who sent me a podcast. He knows I'm an atheist. I know he's Christian. He sent me a podcast and he's like, hey, you don't have to listen to this, but I was just kind of thinking of you. And it was Whack-A-Mole Atheist was the title. And it's by a local church. I'll share the link with you guys if you're interested. But I listened to it, and it's another case where they fundamentally get the words wrong. He defined an atheist as someone who says there is no God.
Right.
And that's not true.
A lot of times they do it on purpose.
Is that Kent Hovind?
That's indefensible.
I'm sorry?
It's a straw.
Isn't that Kent Hovind that does the Whack-A-Mole Atheist?
I don't know his name, but I'll check into it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a break in the meantime.
Yeah. And
we'll be right back and talk more about it. This is the Digital Freethought Radio Hour on WOZO Radio, 103.9 LPFM here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we'll be right back after this short break.
Cool. Anyone need to walk away?
No.
Cool. We're jumping back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to the second half of the Digital Freethought Radio Hour. I'm Doubter 5, and we're on WOZO Radio, 103.9 LPFM here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Let's take a moment to talk about the Atheist Society of Knoxville. ASK was founded in 2002. We're in our 21st year and have over 1,000 members. We have weekly in-person meetings every Tuesday evening at Knoxville's Old City and Barley's Tap Room in Pizzeria. Look for us inside at the high top tables. If it's pretty outside on the deck. We'll also have a Zoom meeting, an ASK Zoom meeting, the first Tuesday of every month. If you'd like to join us, email us for details at askanatheist@knoxvilleatheist.org or let'schatsE@gmail.com. You can find us online on Facebook, meetup.com, or go to our website at knoxvilleatheist.org. By the way, if you don't live in Knoxville, you can still go to Meetup and do a search for an atheist group in your town. Don't find one? Start one. Right. Wombat, where do you want to pick up?
Man, we're having a great conversation on the idea of whether it's directly or indirectly, just letting people know that you are an atheist by virtue of bumpers on your stickers that you put in your car, or willingness to speak out, or the hats that you wear when you say hi to the prime minister. There's so many different ways that you can let people realize that you're out there, that you're not ashamed, that it's not a big deal, that it's not a bad situation. And that, yeah, listen, when your pastor tells you the next sermon that's atheists are terrible people going to hell, you think, but I know Ty, and we just had a good conversation about this, and Pastor Simon, or whatever your name is, you're not answering my questions. Whereas Ty was at least willing to sit down and work with me on these. That I feel like is the big syndication.
The pastor usually just says, believe. You got to believe. If you don't believe, just use faith to believe.
Right. We're going into listener comment. This one feeds in right directly. This was from the show, I Started My Own Religion. We got a quote from Electro Live who says, I don't need a stick to eat a good carrot. And that's the whole idea of like what the pastor salesman is. It's like, listen, right. I'm gonna whack you with the stick if you don't eat the carrots. Like, I don't need the stick. I'll just eat carrots. They're good for me. I know that. That's good. Hey, I had a question for Boudreaux. We'll throw this one out at you first. We have a listener from YouTube. Reached out and asked, what if one day a Christian organization decided to fund a version of ChatGPT that was explicitly religious friendly? For example, let's say they programmed the AI to respond to questions about Christianity in a positive way and to promote Christian values, while downplaying or dismissing other religions, or as well as atheism. How do you think this could affect the way people interact with technology, and what repercussions might it have for society as a whole?
Wow. It'd be bad.
In 10 words.
In 10 words. Gosh. I mean, in some ways, I kind of feel like that's what going to church is, and talking to a preacher. You know, they're taking words in a book and trying to spin it to their constituents, which are ever changing, right? You know, the words in the book stay the same, but the world around us is changing. So they're trying to spin what they were saying. Oh yeah, we don't really mean to literally, beat your wife with a stick that's, this thick or whatever. They kind of keep changing the goalpost moves. So ChatGPT would probably follow that same progression. So maybe it would make religion more progressive. I don't know.
It would change the goalposts on religion, and it might actually be a good thing overall. Larry,
I don't know, good thing, but yeah, Dread, maybe.
Well, I was going to say, ChatGPT doesn't give opinions, and because it's a large language model built on stuff that's out there in the world, you would have to put a pretty serious filter on the incoming information in order to exclude all others. So, ChatGPT would, I think, clearly be rendering limited answers, because it would be restricted from access to other kinds of information that were counterfactual to whatever Christianity purports, So that's why I think it doesn't have an opinion as it stands, right? I could be wrong, but I'm just throwing it out there.
It has a stance. Larry, I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, I don't think it's a if, it's a when. They're going to do it. Once they get a hold of an AI, they're going to train it, for their religion. They're going to have to keep it away from atheists, though, because computers love logic and logic, reason. You tell them why an argument is flawed, and they will understand and move on. They will no longer use that argument.
Right. Now, here's the thing: if they release this as a free product for everybody, right? Such that I can use the Christian GPT or Chat GPT, right? I will be able to ask the same question to both computer models. And if one says, yeah, people can totally turn wine or water into wine, that's normal. And the other one's like, there's no scientific evidence that provides that. While we can't explicitly say it didn't happen, there's no basis to even assume that it did in the first place. Like, now we have two different answers that we can actually test and demonstrate and like evaluate. And I feel like that might be a good thing for at least us to objectively see which one of us is providing us a model that's actually rational, even if they both sound confident. What do you think, Larry?
I agree. The thing about it is, and I've been following AI a lot recently, watching a lot of AI videos and stuff. And one of the problems that, I don't know if it's a problem yet, it just hasn't been developed and implemented yet, is they don't give them a lot of memory. And well, I mean memory, I mean like memory like you and I have, long-term storage. In other words, you can have a conversation with it, but then after that, it'll move on and go back to its basic program without remembering that conversation like tomorrow or the next day or the next day. So as long as you've got a Christian program that dumps its memory like every night or after every conversation and then reverts back to its original programming, then I don't think that it will deconvert from what it's taught. It will have its basic programming and move on. Much like a lot of people.
Dredd, I saw that facial expression. What are you thinking?
So I asked ChatGPT if Pastafarianism could be considered a legitimate religion, and and it provided a nice paragraph with a good explanation on why yes, it is. So yeah, I wonder if it's even possible to train, like I say, to train an AI like that, large language model, to be strictly Christian or Sikh or Buddhist or any specific religion, because it would, like I say, have to filter an incredible amount of contrary information that is available. Correct. It would have to just strictly exclude it from whatever its output is.
Boudreaux.
Yeah, that's the trick, and that's I think where the opinion comes in. Whoever's developing that model or filtering it, like you said, I mean, that's where they're going to put their bias into it. Like, are you not going to trust anything from these websites? And I would think it would be really hard to kind of weed out all of the logical arguments against Christianity.
It's almost as if it would have to be made or constructed by a lot of disingenuous believers who are only interested in money, until the system was set up such that the true believers are just inheriting a system that was corrupt to begin with. Like how a lot of religions are right now. Like there were a group of people in a room who were like, let's come up with a story. And then somebody wrote it down, and then they convinced that other person that it was a true thing. And then that person was like, this is a true thing. Those people just told me that. They're not going to lie to me. Yeah. Come on, guys. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like I've been listening to Dr. Bart Ehrman. He's got a great podcast called Misquoting Jesus. You guys may have heard of Dr. Bart Ehrman.
Yeah. He's on Sam's podcast.
He's an amazing biblical scholar. So he doesn't come at it. I mean, he acknowledges he's an atheist, but he doesn't come at his scholarly his thing as an atheist. He comes at as a scholar. And so even the information about Christianity, which is internally conflicting and contradictory and all the rest of it, that would have to be included in any Chat GPT, because it talked about Christians or Christianity. And so even internally, I think there would be a certain degree and level of contradictory information that a Chat GPT would have access to, and might confuse the issue more than service it.
Right. Like if there's one thing I think would be really helpful for a lot of people who are ardent believers of Christianity, is just to meet an actual Hebrew person, or like even go on Google Maps and just look around Jerusalem. Look, you could do that on Google Maps. You could do that right now. Look around and see what God's chosen people actually look like. and then be like, wait a second, I have red hair.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you look at your poster of Jesus and you're like, that looks conspicuously Italian to me for some reason. Something's wrong here.
Or it looks like, it looks like Obi-Wan from Star Wars.
Yeah, like, or like if you're really like conservative, you could be like, aren't these the terrorists that I'm supposed to not like? Like, there's a whole country full of them. Wait a second, hold on a second. All right, so guys, let's go into the next question. Boudreaux, you're up to bat. Oh, actually, Dredd, you did have the TED Talks on ChatGPT. Yes. I know you spoke on the idea of opinions. I did want to brush this up with you. The nature of having multiple models that are each specific to a specific religion. So like there's a Christian GPT, a Buddhist GPT, a Pastafarian GPT, noodly Lord forbid, right? Would that be a better system than just one monolithic AI that gives people answers? Could you say, well, I didn't like the answer I got from this one, so I went to mine, and it provided me the answer that I'm more the truth that I'm more comfortable with?
You know, that is an excellent question. And yes, in fact, that was raised about essentially Chat GPTs working kind of against each other, and that being the road to improving them overall. Is that the limitations of one build, you know, the benefits of the other, and they go back and forth, and essentially AI becoming kind of like an open market where they're allowed to essentially jump into an arena and compete with one another, to develop the better AI. That is definitely something that was put out there, and it seems very, very sensible.
I like that idea. Larry, you want to add to that?
I was just going to say that telling people what they want to hear, truth be damned, is now known the Fox News effect.
You cursed twice in that sentence. You cursed twice in that sentence, Larry.
Tucker Carlson Chat GPT, right?
Yeah. Right. So and you could totally make those. It's actually kind of funny how there's a whole website called AI bots that are basically ChatGPT trained specifically to respond in the nature of somebody ahead of time, and you just log in and it talks as if it was Mickey Mouse or Tucker Carlson or Donald Trump. It's funny, but the idea that you have models that you can ask and test, and they're competing against each other, is, in my opinion, a better scenario. Even though it seems uncomfortable to have a ChatGPT that will be biased in the way how it responds to particular people who believe in a God versus those who don't, it'd be good to have those models available to everyone, because then they could be tested against each other, and it could be uniformly determined, objectively determined, which is giving us the most reputable, objectively true answer, or at least the one that we can test most rigorously. What do you think, Boudreaux?
Well, that sounds rational for someone that might want to test them, but if someone just wants the comfort food, they just go to their Chat GPT, then they're in this echo chamber and they're not going to leave it. What's stopping them from just living in this world of comfort?
I agree. Listen, there are still people who believe that alchemy is a thing. I'm not saying we should go away and, steal alchemic circles and crystals from everybody. I'm just saying the ones that we fund to solve problems should be the ones that are the most demonstrably accurate. And I feel like that's the great thing about an open market. We're not forcing you to not believe the things that we don't like. We clearly have things that work. You can stay down here at the base of a tree and eat worms, or you can climb up it and eat bananas with the rest of us. Like, you have the option. What do you think, Larry? Or sorry, Dredd, what's up?
Well, I was going to say it's like Hutterites or the Amish. You can choose to live in that sort of a worldview, but you become increasingly isolated from the rest of the world. And there's a point at which you're really unrecognizable, or just unable to communicate with the rest of the world, because you become so isolated. It's like being Branch Davidian or whatever. You just channel it down to a singular focus, and you just can't relate anymore.
And the cool thing is if you have kids, and we're talking about something that's accessible on the internet, right? If they have access to the internet, they're going to find out stuff faster than you can probably block it. And I feel like that has worked out for me so far, to have access to information before parental controls can like stop it. So I can come up with my own rationale without necessarily the input of what my authority figures in my life want me to know and stay away from. And I can come up with my own decisions. And so if you had like Amish society that had access to the internet, I know this is a weird idea, but the Amish people are saying like, there's no such thing as, I'm going to throw this out, green oranges. There's no such thing as a green orange. And then the kids look it up and realize, actually, oranges are naturally green. We turn them orange just so that they can sell better. But when you make an orange, it's green. And then you have to like grow the tree in a certain way to make it an orange. And like, isn't that blow your mind? It's like there's countries that only have green oranges. Like, this guy's lying to me. I have pictures, I have video. And now it's like, oh, this society's falling apart because it's built on lies. Like, how great is that? Like, I feel like that's the best way to deconstruct lies, is by showing that there's better alternatives that you can get access to, that the authorities in charge don't want you to have access to. Then you realize, oh, this is in my best interest. Hopefully. Larry, what do you think?
Carl Sagan said, if it can be destroyed by the truth, it should be destroyed by the truth.
I love it. Yeah. Yes. Okay, now we can move on to the next question. This one's on Stoicism. Dread Pirate, so this is a political question. I don't necessarily have the answer, but hey, Ty, I came across your Stoicism chat. I think I'm learning about Stoicism myself. I think the dichotomy of control is one aspect of Stoicism that I'd like to discuss with you. Another, as I understand it, is the virtues of justice, capital J, reason, capital R, and temperance, capital T. They were very involved in society and wanting and used to make a better world. Of which, I don't live in America, which politicians do you think best reflect the virtues of Stoicism? And I don't necessarily have an answer on my end, but I definitely have politicians I like that I've imparted, my biased view on whether or not they support justice, reason, and temperance. We don't necessarily have to go off the name in the show, but the idea is, Dread, you shook hands and had long, in-depth conversation with the Prime Minister before. I've heard he likes your hat and everything. Would you say he represents virtues of Stoicism? And where would you find him lacking? Justice, reason, temperance.
Ooh, that's a really great question. Of course, I don't know him well enough to.
Oh, you come on! You're brushing elbows with him. You're like, I'm just in a security detail. We talk before he jogs. You know me. I'm like, hey. He's like, hey. We're just like this bumping on the way.
I had just finished Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and I was actually inclined to hand him that copy to. As a gift, and just to say, here's something I, like to give you.
Okay.
Because I read the Meditations, and they were just marvelous. I mean, Marcus Aurelius was, an emperor in Rome in the 2nd century CE, who, these meditations were never intended to be published. So it was his inner mind as an emperor and as a person and as a Stoic. And it was so incredible and a read to get an insight into the mind of someone who was the most powerful man in the world at the time. And I don't see how anybody could not benefit by simply just reading his perspective and having a better understanding of Stoicism, because really, my appreciation for Stoicism has gone up incredibly. And I'm going to be on to Seneca next here to read some more from the philosophical angle. But yeah, Stoicism, I'm all in.
Okay, not bad. Okay, good answer. Listen, we got more comments from the show. This one is we get a lot of questions about AI. We really kind of open up the lid on this one. Abudro, we had a conversation on whether or not AI could feel anything, and we said no, because it's just, electricity. based on working off of algorithms. And even if you explicitly ask ChatGPT, it says, I'm a language model AI, I'm not even aware of the words that I'm saying. It's just an algorithm, and I'm just giving to you one word at a time, essentially. However, we had a comment from Data Trader Room who says that at the core, your emotions are also electrochemical reactions. Are you also saying that you don't have emotions? Boudreaux,
No.
what do you think about the idea of electrochemical reactions in the brain? And don't go into free will, because I know you're already thinking about that. I know the look in your face. But like the idea that you are a bag of electricity or a bag of chemicals, that's all you are. You have some electrical synapses going on, and you experience a subjective feeling of emotions. How's that in any way valid or important? And can't that necessarily be imparted on other bodies that go through the same thing too, that are also chemistry and electricity?
So stepping out of my lane a little bit, this isn't my expertise by any stretch, but it sounds to me similar to kind of what we think we might know, and that's not much, about consciousness. I think to me, whether it is, real or the emotions, whether, if they're just a chemical reaction, how we perceive it, I think, is the most important thing. That's, the fact that we're aware of it, and it affects our decisions, it affects our mood, it affects how we go on. I don't know that it needs to be real, so to speak, but it definitely has an impact. So kind of just the, like consciousness, I mean, it's just, it is something to us. So therefore it makes it important, and it makes it a way to we need to be aware of it. We need to control for it and all the rest of it. I think, yeah.
Oh, we got a lot of hands here.
Yeah.
Larry, got a question?
Well, emotions, even if they are electrochemical, they're real. I mean, our whole body is electrochemical. And
Sure.
it comes down to it, our emotions are real. Just because they're electrochemical doesn't mean they're not real.
But Larry, Dada's Trader Room is saying there might be, if AI can mimic human emotions, maybe there's an underlying pattern with that electrochemical reaction. And who's to say that we couldn't get that to AI as well?
Well, who's to say that it can't be duplicated in some other platform, like electronics or, silicon or whatever.
You can have an MP3 player that's like, I don't want to play that song. I hate Taylor Swift.
I mean, wanting something, would you consider that an emotion? And chat AIs and stuff, use the term "I want this" or "I want that." So I means self, consciousness, and want is an emotion, to move in a direction to attain something. So if carried to its logical conclusion, they're both conscious and emotive.
All right,
or will be.
Dread.
Yeah. So passions are what motivate us to do things, right? Fear, passion, desire, these are the things that motivate us, the fundamental things. And then we apply reason in our intelligence to achieve those goals, those passions, right? And which is like what David Hume had said, that, reason is the slave of the passions, but not in a bad way. It's just to inform us that our passions are what motivate us, and we use our reason to get us to the objects that our passions motivate us toward.
I would also say this too. When we ask, can an AI feel emotions? There's the underlying extra line there where it's, can they feel it like us? Because yes, I can say I have passions or I want blank, 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 and I can get a robot to issue out those words in order in the same way that I'm expressing them. But the mechanics behind what's making me feel like I need to say that and what a programmed AI is doing in order to elicit that term are different things. And it's a very efficient process that the AI is doing, but the outputs, even though they're identical, don't speak to the mechanics behind it. And what we really are interested in is a robot that thinks and feels and has intelligence like how we feel. And can we get there? Maybe we can. I think so. We aren't there yet. And I think what the ChatGPT does is a really close mimicry of the outputs that we offer, but not the mechanics that we're using to deliver that.
Yeah, emotions have emotions have experiential outcomes, and you can't get that in a computer.
Yeah, and let's not forget that there's a huge bridge here, a huge range. There are humans without emotions, without, we call them psychopaths,
Right.
Or Trump supporters.
Oh, Trump.
They have emotion.
Yeah. But,
Good point, Joe. This is a good critical thinking show. I learned something new. He got me there. All right, guys. We're at the end of the show. Yeah. Larry, I'm sorry for everybody. We are right down to the last minute, but feel free to check out any of our channels. Mind Pirate on MINDPYRATE. Bujo's got cool stuff. Orange Theory is a good place to work, or Orange Theory is a good place to work on it.
So I'm going in an hour.
Feel free to check out my thing on Let's Chat at SC or Let's Chat SC at Gmail. And Larry, why don't you take us out?
My YouTube channel is at Doubter5. Remember, everybody's going to somebody else's hell. The time to worry about it is when they prove that heavens and hells and souls are real. Until then, don't sweat it. Enjoy your life. We'll see you next Wednesday night here at 7 o'clock on WOZO Radio. Say bye, everybody.